Assalamu alaikum and a very good evening to everyone who has joined us today. My name is Samira Sohani. I'm the head of Research Advisory Training Unit of Bangladesh Rating Agency Limited. Bangladesh Rating Agency Limited has the aim to arrange a webinar every month to discuss about important issues of the economy, and today's webinar is part of that aim. Today, we are gathered here to discuss about a very crucial issue of recent time, that is the economic implication of the Russia and Ukraine war. We are going to have a question answer session at the end of our discussion. Now, I would like to have the honor to introduce our panelists. I'm very pleased to introduce Mr. K.N. Majidur Rahman. Sir is the CEO of AK Khan and Company Limited. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And I'm also very honored to introduce Mr. Mohammad Nurul Amin. Nurul Amin, sir, is the former CEO of Meghna Bank and NCC Bank Limited. And sir also has played the role of the chairman of Association of Bankers Bangladesh. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Okay. And yes, of course, we have our CEO, sir, as the moderator, Dr. Said Abdullah Al-Mamun. Sir, now I would like to request you to proceed the discussion further. Go further. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Samira. Thank you for your nice introduction. So could you allow me for Lira, could you allow me for my screen sharing? Yeah, thank you. So respected ladies and gentlemen, and honorable guest of today's session, Assalamu alaikum and good evening, and welcome all of you on behalf of the BDRAL, the Bangladesh Rating Agency Limited, a Dun & Bradstreet same company. So as per our vision to be the knowledge base and the growth driver company in Bangladesh, we are trying to add value to the financial sector and helping the company to giving their insights so that they can take the input for their decision making. With that vision, we continuously try to track the economic activities as well as the business activities, and also the implications of different local as well as an international issues of our local business and the global businesses as well. So based on this backdrop, one of our initiatives to disseminate the thoughts or connect the understanding of the industry experts with other audiences so that we can have the deeper understanding about the implications of different drivers of the business. And as per that initiatives, we conducted the monthly webinar, and today is the webinar titled with the economic implications of Russia and Ukraine war, which is one of the most discussed issues at this moment in the global economic forum as well. So today we will have the exclusive look on the aspect, how does this war has the implication on the global economy as well as the local economy, domestic economy as well. So I would like to take the privilege to introduce our company with the audience. That is, this is the Bangladesh Rating Agency Limited. It's a Dun & Bradstreet same company, which incorporated 2008 and is a licensed credit rating company by Bangladesh Securities and Exchange Commission and the Bangladesh Bank. And we have already done more than 28,000 SME rating and the 200 corporate entities rating by this time. And this is our parent company. This is a Dun & Bradstreet, and Dun & Bradstreet is an almost 200 years company, and almost 90% of the Fortune 500 company rely on DNB data. We have more than 420 million business records at this moment, And one of the pride or feather of this company is that X4 president of the USA, whether employee or were working in the Dun and Bradstreet. So this is about, we have around almost 200 plus office around the world and 400 plus million of business records we have, and the data support we provide to getting insights about their business across the world. And Dun & Bradstreet same works in the Middle East, South Asia, and the African region. They have the 67 market they operate from, with the head office of Dubai. And BDRAL is the local subsidiary of the Dun & Bradstreet same. And Dun & Bradstreet has 7 major service lines. There's a risk management solution, risk rating, and rating agencies like the BDRAL, Credit Bureau Solution, Sales and Marketing Solution, Economic Analysis Group. We have very rigorous country risk assessment and country risk rating, and research and advisory services, and the financial technology solution as well. And the key engagement of the BDRAL in Bangladesh, they involve in the credit rating. As we mentioned that we do all types of the credit rating. And we have also research and advisory services, including industry analysis, ESG analysis, corporate governance analysis. And we also conducted the business strategy analysis for getting support for business. And we have also the publication business about the SMEs of Bangladesh, series of collaboration with the SME Foundation. And we also conduct the relevant training related business analysis and the financial analysis. And our motto is that, like, we want to give the better insights so that the business decision makers get help from that insights for making their business decision making. Like, our underlying philosophy is that, like, we want to add value to the business with our analysis. And today's discussion framework is like that. As we all know that Russia-Ukraine war has the impact on the global economy, as Bangladesh is also connected with the global economy. So it has also the impact on the Bangladesh economy directly. And interestingly, like, as a global partner or one of the global economic units, Bangladesh is also affected indirectly as well. Like, when the global economy will be affected, it will also affect the Bangladesh economy indirectly. So we try to come up with this framework for our discussion, and we'll expect that, like, our participants will also ask the questions about their curiosity, and we will be very privileged to listen from 2 eminent personality, business personality and business experts with us today. And if we give a brief ideas about the Russian economy, like, this is almost $1.5 trillion economy at this moment, the world. And on the other hand, Ukraine. Samira, can you mute others? So about Ukraine, this is a $155 billion economy, and their economic growth pattern was similar, so the size is different. And particularly 4 major consequences of the global economy. We found that one is a financial sanction, commodity price volatility due to the war, supply chain disruption, and the stock market implication. May I request to mute the others, please?
Yes, I cannot mute them.
Lira, could you mute the others, please? So direct impact on the global economy, we can sense that global wheat exports, almost 30% from Russia, global soybean, like, significantly depends on the Russia. And Europe is exclusively depends on Russia for the energy supply, and global crude oil export, almost 11% global export oil exports is done by the Russia. So we can easily understand the global implications of the war and the sanction for the Russian economy. And this is the trend of the crude oil price, and we found that like how it jumps and its implication on the inflation, global inflation, is unavoidable due to the increasing of the oil price as well. And DNB research shows that almost 374,000 business worldwide rely on Russian supplies, and 241,000 business worldwide rely on the Ukraine supplies. So we can easily get that like to what extent the supply chain disruption is happened due to this war. And Bangladesh economy is also connected with the Russia as well as Ukraine to some extent. The important is that like Bangladesh economy is in widely and a better way connected with the global economy, particularly two elements of Bangladesh economy are critical. One is an RMG export in Europe. So when Europe is affected, so we are also affected due to the apparel export. There's a possibility, and one of the project which is managed and financed by Russia, that's a Rupur nuclear power plant. So any kind of impact we may predict from here, and the import export can be also affected by the Bangladesh, and particularly the oil import might be affected with the increasing of the oil price. And direct impact on Bangladesh economy, as also like Bangladesh is heavily depends on the Ukraine and Russia for their wheat imports. So which is like second largest crop corns Bangladesh depends on for the feeding of our people. So it may also be severely affected. So the oil price and the raw materials, like the major, as Bangladesh is growing very fast, so the raw material and the equipment, Bangladesh heavily depends on importing raw materials and equipment. So if the global economy is affected, so the price of these two elements could be increases, which may create the pressure on our inflation as well. And global stock market, we see that as an interesting aspect. We see that like our stock market even has lost the confidence in the February. But interestingly, we found that in the March, all the market, like our market as well as in global market, including NASDAQ, S&P and Nifty, got the confidence in the back in the March. So maybe how much it will be sustainable. So now this is a backdrop. We are trying to give the information to the participants so that our discussion can be roaming around these issues. So now I would like to ask our respected Nurul Amin sir, like how do you assess first like the framework we are talking about, like the war, how the war may affect our like local economy, particularly about inflation and the cost of doing business in Bangladesh?
Thank you, Dr. Mamoon. I'm really happy to be present here, though I am not in my location. I'm somewhere else and busy with some other business. I'm very happy to see my old former colleague, Majid Bhai. He was with us for a long time in banking sector. Now he's really becoming taking an entrepreneurial positions in a big conglomerate. Thank you, Mr. Mamoon, for this webinar organized by DNB, which I know for many years. Of course, Majid Bhai also knows DNB because we could not work beyond that exactly. without any credit information from this expert company. So my perception is that to be very specific, because I'm sorry that I'll be leaving this after my part of deliberation, because I'm really in emergency meeting somewhere, and it is continuing, but I am not joining now. After this, I'll join that. My perception is that still, after this 1 month of Russia-Ukraine war, we could not feel really what impact will be on Bangladesh in the uh, in the wake of this war which has started between Russia and Ukraine. But after 1 month, will be my perception we will be seeing the impacts, because shipment uh, will become a problem, because 25% of the agro product or wheat comes from both Russia and Ukraine to our country. All the ships which have sailed before this war maybe safely will come to different destinations, but uh, during the war, the one of the ship of Bangladesh also have been affected, and one of our navigator was killed. So shipping will be a difficult, and so transportation will be a difficult issue. And for that reason, maybe movement of goods may be hampered. My perception is really different now. What I want to say is that our unethical traders is taking or has taken the plea of this Russia-Ukraine war, that it has impacted our price. Price in international market really increased. We know that inflation in our country does not always depend on domestic issues. It depends on international price issues. That has really happened, and because of the war, you see that the fuel price has I would say that it has risen to $140, though it is now getting down day by day. This really impacts us, because our entire economy oil import based, and then that we are also importing LPG. Though we directly not import from Russia and Ukraine, LPG and other items, even the oil, but transportation cost and international price impacts our price here. Government has not yet increased the price of oil. That is a good part. Our government has also, the finance minister yesterday also mentioned that there will be less macroeconomic impact on us. But I see some points that I'll mention now is that one thing, this has impacted already ordinary people in a price spiral, and that caused the inflation is higher. So there may be some problem if we cannot import wheat and agro products from Russia and Ukraine for next few months. If the war continues for a long time, then that supply and price of these items. Though we hope that from India we can cover this by importing wheat and other agro products. One thing is that when war breaks out, some people are being displaced. Some Bangladeshi people from Ukraine also got displaced. And in Russia, during last decade, many people went to Russia, and in that case, our remittance may be impacted because of the people staying in Ukraine and Russia. That is a possibility that this foreign remittance may impact badly on this respect. Another important thing is that our export to Russia in apparel sector is good, as mentioned by Mr. Mamoon also. This financial transaction, alternative of SWIFT must come out. China is really working on UN-based transactions, a cross-border payment system or cross-border payment system, CIPS. And that is also somewhat working, though Bangladesh has not still practiced on this cross border interbank payment system of China. This may take some time also to be accustomed to it. And if central bank, of course, provides this. One positive thing is that our central bank, some few years back, has allowed yuan transactions with China, and we have central bank has account with also for this transaction settlements. Another impact may be on our projects. Though Russia has assured that there is no shortage, no problem of projects, it may impact if the war lingers for a long time. Though we directly don't import any LPG or other things, the way that transportation, the way that last few days I gathered that if the airspace of Ukraine and Russia is avoided, if from Dhaka it will take 2 or 3 hours more to reach Toronto or New York. That also will impact us in some way, though not directly. My point is this: during war, the worst sufferer are the common ordinary people, poor people, and of course the people who are dependent on this business which are affected by the war. So I hope will not be massively affected if the war does not linger long, but in some way, directly or indirectly, there will be some impact on Bangladesh economy. Not massively. I perceive that war will not linger long. It will be Turkey is negotiating, and of course, other nations of the world will try that the war should not be long for a long time. Anyway, with this, I see that our economy will be affected micro level, some exporters, some imports, but in macro level, we will be able to sustain our shock from this war. So thank you, Mr. Mamoon. I will have to leave this. I hope Mr. Majid Bhai will be answering all the questions. He has experience in banking also, local and foreign banks, and now he's a CEO of a big conglomerate. My best wishes to all the viewers, participants, and Dr. Mamoon for inviting me to talk on this webinar. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your insightful sharings. Definitely, we all have been enlightened with your inputs. Okay, so, sir, I want to just shift focus. One important aspect that when anything happens globally or locally, one of the major concern of the business decision makers that they need to predict risks. So as a business leader, how you are predicting these war risks, because immediately still the pandemic risks is with us. We cannot avoid it yet, or we cannot eliminate it yet. Along with that pandemic risks, the war risks is also creating impact. So how do you predict, and how do you take preparations for taking different decisions in your organization, or what should other business leaders or corporate leaders should consider these possible risks of taking their decisions?
Very good question. Thank you so much. But I'm not sure whether I can really answer and give you the right context. But from my simple understanding, what I can say is that, when both at corporate level as well as national level. There are risks. Fortunately, we are a country well shielded. We do not have. We are a solid economy. We have a very good GDP. We have very good reserves. We have very good domestic production. So with all that, yes, of course, we can withstand risks, but still will be affected. Now, being affected for a business, how we have to manage our risks is the difficult question, in the sense that we do not have direct exposure. Most of us do not have direct exposure with either of these countries. In the government sector, yes, we do have. It's something like, we have about $1.5 billion worth of exports to Russia. To Ukraine, not much. To Ukraine, we have an import trade of something like $200 million. And that's basically fruits and vegetables. But where do we really see the risk? The risk is, as Mr. Nurul Amin has mentioned, that, and also in your presentation, you mentioned that that Russia produces 30% of the world wheat. So we have a dependency on wheat in the external market. Wheat is something that we don't. I want to mic them.
Yeah, I have muted. Yeah.
Thank you. So what I was saying is, Amit, the large dependency, the large risk factor that comes for us is in the purchase of wheat. So I would say that, well, that may not create much of dependency or in terms of a damage factor for our trade, overall trade, because we also have options to import wheat from India. Last year, actually, India was a greater exporter of wheat to Bangladesh. But saying that, wheat also will have some dependency with Russia. So it's an indirect risk that we will be confronting. And together with the trade risk, what we will be confronting is the overall impact actually coming in a manner through the crude oil price. When our energy, a lot of our production manufacturing systems depend on the electricity which is produced on diesel. So that's where when the price goes up, we are susceptible, we are vulnerable to price fluctuations. Our advantage, the benefits that we get out of our lower cost of production through, the labor price and also environmental aspects, that is going to be affected because of the higher production cost. And that may really bring a dent to our trade relationship with many of the countries where we send our exports. So that is where I feel that, we have got to really work out a situation so that we can sustain our export basket. Now, saying this, where is the export basket? We know that in our garments, which is our main export product, most of our sales is to Europe. Now, Europe being affected by the war, will have less import, will have difficulties in import, will have less consumption, will be affected by the higher prices, inflation, etc., in their purchase capacity. So from that perspective, I will not say that it will happen, but it is likely to happen. It is a risk scenario that we have to manage, that our export basket to Europe needs to be diversified. And that's where our leaders are working. Our leaders are trying to work out slice in the US market, in other countries of the world. So I think, and that's where, we have to manage our risk. As you raised the question of how do we manage the risk. The other point that the risk factor will perhaps, create some question in our mindset is, what do we do with our reserves? Because, with the new equation, the West has, withdrawn the SWIFT facility, the dollar access, etc., for the Russian bloc. And Russia is trying to work out an alternate channel. So if we are having an open reserve, if we have a reserve which the currency risk is likely to affect, I think, that's where a point that our policymakers and our custodians of the reserves will have to think about. In fact, to that extent, Bangladesh Bank has already given a directive to banks to manage the open positions of the banks in various currencies prudently. Now, this is where the responsibility comes in, that we have to be careful that which country we take an exposure, which country we may keep open. Now, saying this, the Russia has been insisting on, the dual currency options. They're talking about, the swaps, mutual swaps. I buy in rupee, you buy in ruble. That kind of situations are emerging. So, that's where we need to, if we can, it's something not so easy. It's being talked about with the different, like, we had a relationship with ACU, Asian Clearing Union. That, with China also, China has initiated a case whereby the Asian countries can trade in their own currencies. That's also a possibility that we have to work out. So saying this means that, the traditional basket of dollar will be affected. And that's where we need to think different. We need to find out a solution. Now, good for us, we are a blessed country that our exposure to this conflict will not be as big as what we were open to COVID just a few months back. So from that perspective, I would say that in managing the risk perspectives, what you just asked me, the one will be in our trade relationships, our trade basket, the volumes, which we do directly with Russia or Ukraine. That's something that we need to take care of. And number two will be the currency risks. Number three yet will be the human displacements that has taken place. It's not in thousands. It may be in thousands, but it's not in millions like, our neighboring country will have the impact. So that's where we are again better off that, we will not have to probably, suffer too much in terms of the human displacements. Yet another issue that will come is it's for the leaders and the government and the policymakers that the new alliances that is being created in the geopolitical scenario, in global politics, now there will be new equations, there will be new friends, there will be new enemies, and how we manage it to protect our permanent relationships. What we say in our foreign policy perspectives is friendship to all, allies to none. So based on that, we'll have to very carefully assess the situation and take a position where we are not affected by any party. So I think, for the time being, these are the few things that we might address at this point in time, unless we have few questions coming up from the viewers.
Thank you, sir. Like you have given a framework, input, considering all the related inputs in a like framework, so which really give us a wider view. My next curiosity, in fact, about the war, because like BDRAL, as per this nature of business or nature of operations, we try to predict risks and helping financial market as well as individual corporate for their decision making purposes. So what we observe that is in a macro level in our economy, there is a mechanism. We have a regulator, we have government policy formulation issues. Even in the pandemic, we have seen that our state level is more structured to respond the risks. In case of pandemic, in case of Ukraine-Russia war, we found it like the mechanism is working. Yes, there can be a like question that how much effective. That is another question that. But what we observe that there, like state level, the macroeconomic level responses are the presence in there. But what we frequently observe in the micro level, particularly in the company level, entity level, we observe that like if any incidents happens, like risk predictability mechanism of the company level has not yet been developed. For example, if we have an observation like out of 10 companies, even there is a not one we found have the chief risk officer. I'm talking about the conglomerate. Maybe they have another name. So how do you give emphasis on this global volatile global environment? And Bangladesh is also globally connecting day by day in a faster way than previous way. So how do you feel the need of importance of the companies to build this corporate structure, incorporating that options of risk predicting and risk management? So and another aspect is that when we talk risks in Bangladesh, mostly we think about the standard deviation of the stock price. So but business risk identification mechanism is essential, particularly the last two-factor pandemic and the war taught us. So how do you underscore the importance of risk management mechanism in the entity level?
Certainly, it is very important. Now, again, as I said, that we are shielded in different ways, meaning not just that our macro economy has built shields and which protects us from various risks, but it is also the awareness. If I may honestly say that most of our entrepreneurs are about 3 decades old. So, the size and the experience and the exposure has not brought us to a level that we would really think about the risk perspectives. We perhaps think about it in an unstructured way. The most of a factory will probably think about in what risk may happen. But the general tendency in all of us is that we really don't bother much, in the sense that we are lucky that all the risks we have so far encountered, we have overcome successfully. Be it the blessing of the Almighty, or be it we are shielded by macroeconomic policies, whichever way. But it is very important that risk is perceived, assessed, and quantified, and risk mitigation measurements are initiated. So I would say that if it is not affordable, or if it is not, from a capacity perspective, if it is not permissible for a small size company, but an industry should look into it. And there are lots of industry associations, alliances, and trade bodies. So I would say that it is for them to address, like today you were addressing, BDRAL is addressing a contemporary issue. I'm sure the purpose is to aware your members, to make your members aware that there is a potential risk which we need to take care of. Maybe it is not applicable to me, but at least I should know of, so that my shipping routes, my fly zones are not affected. My cost of goods doesn't go up. So these are the, I would say, the knowledge that we need to impart to our industry partners. Now, saying this, I would compliment BGMEA that they have really taken this into their context and they are thinking about it. As I mentioned earlier, that we need to diversify our export basket. So that is also something that they are considering diversifying our export destinations. It is not something that someone can do this in a day or two or in a couple of weeks. It takes time, but it's good that we are learning. And I would also compliment Dun & Bradstreet and BDRAL that you are also bringing this in front of the viewers to understand what risks we may be exposed to.
Yeah, and we try to aware, and due to as our global size and the global infrastructure, it becomes easier for us to collect data and to have the better understanding. That also makes us in a good position, putting us in a good position to share the insights. So, sir, that nicely you mentioned the realistic solution. I think like the trade bodies are play a very important role in the cases in every aspects of building the better business environment and better corporate practices. So sir, I just want to shift our discussion from micro enterprise level to stock market because you led BSc earlier, so we'd not like to lose the opportunity in this respect. At this moment, if we critically analyze the Bangladesh economy, that we are very much concentrated on two important factors. One is in remittance, another one is that is like export from garments industry. I must not say the export because all are concentrated export of the garments, RMG. So RMG export and like remittance are the two pillars of our economy, which is driving our growth, infrastructure development, other things. In addition, the inflation and both the factors are under pressure due to this war as well as like COVID, though we are recovering. But again, due to global inflation, as well as for the first time, we have seen that our inflation touches 6 for the last 1 decade. So our two important drivers are under pressure, and inflation is also mountaining along with the global inflation scenario. So in this situation, how much, because already the stock market, we have a lot of challenges, it's small in size and other typical local locally embedded factors always create the hinders of the expansion and the growth, the all insights. But in the new context has been created that the two economic drivers are under pressure and inflation is mounting. So considering these three factors, how much you are optimistic about the expansion of the growth of the stock market in the near future, and what possible initiatives the regulator as well as the stock market policymakers should take in the context of a pandemic as well as this war?
This is a difficult question, and I don't want to advise the regulators because I'm sure they understand better than I do.
That's your opinion, sir.
Sure, of course. I will share my bit of what
your views, sir,
from my own perspective and what an ordinary person would think. One is that we will be impacted definitely by the foreign trade that happens in the stock market, and the foreign investors. They will be taking a cautious action, cautious approach. So that because they will be always worried about the currency situation. So, I mean, there is a likelihood that the exchange rates might fluctuate. As a result, I mean, that might affect their positions in the stock. So the other thing is that, I mean, the stock market is a very sensitive place. It acts and reacts on global prices, not just, local prices. And in our market, definitely, I mean, we take an opportunity whenever there is, I mean, some reaction in the overseas markets. So that's what has happened. Now, to deter that and to ensure that we have a steady market, we first of all, I mean, if we could, provide a solution towards a multi-product exchange rather than just the equity-based share prices. So if we have something like fixed securities income, like if we have bonds, if we have coupons, so that would bring some stability to the market's overall balance situation. That would not have so much of impact in terms of the index. Number two is the sustainability, the capability to withstand any kind of impact for the capital market is important. And that happens when you really build the confidence into the system. And basically, I mean, we need to make sure that during these times, I mean, no unethical practice takes place. And if it does, then the governance part becomes very active. So we'll have to focus on governance that, I mean, if anyone wants to take a advantage of this situation, that we'll have to handle the situation in the appropriate manner. Third, the awareness. Again, the investors need to know that, I mean, what is the economy of Bangladesh, how it can withstand the impacts, and how why the investors should not be worried, because we have a solid foundation of our economy. We should not be affected like in a global market like say the Russian stock exchange or the European stock exchanges. Our situation is not such that say S&P or NYSE or the London Stock Exchange, because that's where people are coming to participate in the trade from affected parts of the war. And for us, we are not directly affected by the war. And indirectly, what we are affected is a scanty. I mean, this is something that should not affect the macro level of our market. So that is where, one needs to come up with statements that, we stand strong and we have the capability to, confront any kind of large fluctuations. One good thing that has happened is, I must say, that the regulators have promptly acted on, setting a floor limit, not a floor limit, rather the market adjustments in terms of the market price breaker. So it used to be 10%, now it has been reduced to 2%. So that has definitely helped retaining the index. But we also need to be more, instead of in a general prescription, we need to see that script-wise, product-wise, solutions can be found or not. And again, the overall surveillance, the supervision is most important to make sure that the market is not taken for a ride by any unethical trader.
So thank you, sir. Thank you. Now let's our participants. Out of our participants, is there any question? Yeah. From the participants, is there any questions from your side? Okay. Okay, sir. I think like everyone get a lot of insights from your discussion. So, sir, we are very delighted to get the opportunity to listen from you and your wider view and very deep and insightful analysis. And I believe that all participants have been enriched as well as enlightened from your views. And also, Amin sir is an absent. We will also can convey our gratitude to him. And our BDRL's particular vision is to come up with a very authentic business analysis and financial analysis through which we want to not only derive the credit rating, also we want to prepare our reports so that like our organizations, like our clients can get the input of risk prediction as well as their strategic decision making. So this is our vision and we are working hard and the whole BDRL family is working hard. And the mentors like you and the industry experts are our ultimate inspiration. And on behalf of BDRL family and also DNB family, we would like to convey our sincere gratitude. Hope with the ease of the pandemic, we can conduct this sort of program in person. And we will have the in-person gathering. We'll get you in our office and your premises as well to listen and to be enlightened. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you. And
Thank
respected
you so
participants. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Your presentation was very informative. And, I'm sure that will help the viewers. And you can also circulate, I'm sure, to your clients so that, it gives them a sense of awareness and helping them to understand, whether we stand in front of any risk or not. And I wish you all the best, as well as, in the whole BDRL overcoming the situation in terms of the COVID impact for your colleagues. Thank you so much. And thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye. Good night.